Today is the last day of March 2023. It's a Friday. And that means I'm going to release 2 videos today. I decided that I'm going to try and do that every Friday so that I can take Saturdays off and rest and still keep up with my posting a video every day goal. So you're going to get another one a little later too. Love your neighbor as yourself. The golden rule. What does it mean to love your neighbor as yourself? I'll start by saying what I don't think it means. I don't think love your neighbor as yourself means that in order to love your neighbor as yourself, you first have to love yourself. At least in a sense. The sense that I usually hear when I hear people interpret the passage that way. Usually when people say, well, it's saying to love your neighbor as yourself, but you can't love your neighbor then unless you love yourself first. The sense I usually get when someone interprets that passage that way is that they're just looking for an excuse to be selfish. That somehow by this love of self that they develop, that will overflow into love of neighbor. And that's a very twisted way of looking at that passage. So that's why I wanted to bring that up, because I hear that pretty often. Like, oh, if you want to love your neighbor, you first have to love yourself. And I get that there's a sense in which that's true. Yes, you need to have respect for yourself. You need to have confidence and understand your identity and be comfortable with who you are, those sorts of things. Sure. But I don't think it means like you're supposed to develop this self-love, like this selfish kind of self-love. Because that's literally going to lead you in the opposite direction of love of neighbor. That's a trait that narcissists and sociopaths have, not people that are genuinely caring about their neighbor. Jesus himself says that there's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. He says that giving up yourself completely is the greatest love you can have. If you have selfish tendencies, or if you have this great love of self, you're not going to give up your life for anyone else. Even if you do have great love for others, it's hard to do that. That's a feat of heroic virtue and heroic sacrifice and love, to give up your life for someone else. So if you think loving yourself more is going to lead to that, I don't know. I think what that passage really means, the passage to love your neighbor as yourself, is more akin to putting yourself in your neighbor's shoes and then thinking about how you would want them to treat you. So let's say you're going through a difficult time in your life. How would you want someone else to treat you during that time? And then take that and apply it to situations with others. It's saying value them the same way you would value yourself. Not this sense of self-love, but this generosity towards them. This understanding. Humility. Just being kind. And it's good to think about this in your relationships with people. Whenever you're about to act a certain way or say a certain thing, just put yourself in the other person's shoes for a little bit. At least imagine it. I know it's not always possible to understand things from someone else's perspective. They might have different desires. They might have a different way that they would actually desire to be treated. But if you put yourself in their shoes and you treat them how you would want to be treated, oftentimes it's going to go pretty well. If they have different needs, different desires, they can voice those and you can try and change and adapt to that. But if you are at least trying to do something to treat them how you would like to be treated, most of the time it's probably going to go pretty well. Because you're already setting the standard a lot higher than a lot of other people in society. We live in a very selfish world right now. Selfishness is everywhere. Everyone is self-centered. It's rare to find people who genuinely want to help and give and do that sort of thing towards other people. There's almost always a catch behind it. Like, I'm doing this because I want something from you. Rarely is it just a free gift. Because that actually takes virtue. It's difficult. It takes love. That's what love is. Love isn't just super easy, like just feels good all the time. Love can be difficult. So if you can learn to put yourself in someone else's shoes and then treat them how you would like to be treated, that's a great thing. That's why it's the golden rule, to love your neighbor as yourself. There's a lot of wisdom in that statement if you can understand it properly and not twist it around and make it about yourself. We need more love in the world, right? We need to be able to love our neighbors better. And so thinking about things like the golden rule will help us to do that. So that's all I got for this first video. Got another one coming coming a little bit later. So, peace.